Time now for Back Pages tonight here on Sky Sports News, bringing you a first look at the sports stories in the morning's newspapers. And joining us are ESPN senior writer Mark Ogden and The Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt. Welcome along to you both. Let's quickly run through those back pages. Now, the Express leads with transfer news. The headline reads, Bryan Mbeumo. United ready to hand winger £200,000 a week, but the Bees will not be moved. They also carry the Wimbledon news. Confident Mimi has Emma Raducanu in her sights. The Guardian's back page has the news of Jack Draper's tough draw alongside the headline, Carry on Serena. FA says Wiegman can stay whatever happens at the Euros. The Telegraph sports section leads with the F1 news. Verstappen in Mercedes talks, and two big interviews are featured with Emma Raducanu and Lions head coach Andy Farrell. And the Sun splash with Thomas Tuchel and the headline Midas Touch. Thomas hopes to see start of the gold rush, and Carsley so grateful for his support. They also have the Formula One story, Max lets Merc this happen, as Mercedes ramp up their pursuit of world champion Max Verstappen. OK, then let's start with the Express and what's turning into a bit of a transfer saga with regard to Manchester United and their pursuit of the Brentford forward Bryan Mbeumo. Their headline says, Bryan Mbeumo, United ready to offer £200,000 a week, but Brentford will not be moved. Charlie, is it inevitable that we're going to see Bryan Mbeumo in the red of Manchester United come the start of the new season?
Yeah, I think we will. It feels, although it is a saga, we're going to get to the end of it eventually. It appears as though he'd rather play for Man United than Tottenham. There's interest from Spurs, although not a bid. And although Brentford have waved away, 55 plus 7.5 million today, they want 65 million. They're going to get it. Great signing for Manchester United. Equally, Brentford are in a strong position. They know that the United want this player, so I don't think Brentford will be in any great rush. Obviously, they've got a few other issues going on at their club at the moment as well. But I think United, when they do get Mbeumo, quite clearly he's told them that he wants to go there. That would be a strong addition for them. Yeah.
Mark, Charlie says strong addition and that Mbeumo is set on going to Manchester United. Look, in the past few years, when pundits and experts are talking about Manchester United's recruitment, they've been pretty critical. And what has been aimed at United is that they've been signing players that haven't really got that Premier League experience. But look, Matheus Cunha is in, and Mbeumo looks inevitable. Are you starting to see lessons being learned at Manchester United about the recruitment now?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously the two obvious strikers that you mentioned there that they've picked up the last couple of years, Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee, both came from Serie A, mid-ranking clubs in Serie A that didn't really translate their, albeit patchy form in Serie A to the Premier League. So they were never really going to cut it, considering how few goals they scored in Italy. So I think they've identified the fact that they need a massive upgrade in quality up front, and also a sense that they're going to sign players who can drop straight into the team and know what the Premier League's about. You can't have players who need a kind of an acclimatisation process. So obviously, Matheus Cunha and Mbeumo both know the Premier League. They've both got great track records in the Premier League, but that comes at a cost. And United are finding that you can't just pick up Bryan Mbeumo for £50 million. You're going to have to go the distance, and if not pay what Brentford want, go very close to it. But I mean, they are pretty much, within £2 or £3 million of a deal being done now. And Mbeumo's made it clear that he wants to go to United. And when that happens, when a player says, I want to go and I want to play for this club, that's where he ends up. That's inevitable. So, I think Brentford are pushing it as far as they can. But I think, as Charlie says, he'll end up at United pretty soon. And then they can move on to the next target, which will probably be someone in midfield. But yeah, they are looking for players who've got Premier League experience that can go straight into the team and not have a 6-month, 12-month wait before they show they can do it.
Charlie, there's been lots of speculation and lots of talk about how many changes Manchester United are going to need, not only incomings but outgoings as well. They clearly want to be challenging at the top of the league. how many windows realistically do you think this is going to actually take? Because Ruben Amorim has been very clear that this is a big job that United have got to do, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, it's obviously not going to be sorted this summer, is it? Nigh on impossible for them to be where they want to be, and that's to be not just challenging for a Champions League spot, to be challenging for the title. And of course, as we know, United are way off. Another season they could have got relegated. So I think United fans will be patient. They're going to have to be patient, but equally, it does make it easier, as Mark said, when you're signing players who are proven in the Premier League, and these two signings are exactly that. I mean, it's pretty obvious, really, isn't it? That it will make the manager's job easier and will make that improvement quicker by signing players like Mbeumo, who had another terrific season. For Brentford, scored 20 goals. He will hit the ground running. There's no doubt about that. And let's hope United's next couple of signings will be, similar. But equally, I think it's going to be this time next year before we can really look at the success of these two windows and really judge where United are going to be. But look, they're going to improve. It's inevitable that Man United will improve. They certainly can't get any worse, that's for sure. I think United fans do have some cause for optimism, but they're going to have to be patient.
Yeah, on the flip side is the Brentford side of the story. They're obviously going to be losing one of their best players, but they have finally got a new manager, a new head coach following Thomas Frank's departure to Tottenham Hotspur, and it is Keith Andrews, Mark. And the Telegraph's online edition has said, look, he's far more than just their set-piece coach. But look, in black and white, it is a set-piece coach to a head coach. How big a risk is this appointment, do you think?
Well, it is a risk. I mean, we've seen clubs over the years in the Premier League that have lost their manager and promoted from within, and it's not really worked out the majority of the times. But I think we have to give Keith Andrews the respect that he deserves. He's not an unknown. He had a Premier League career, with Wolves, with Hull City, played for the Republic of Ireland, 20, 30 times. He's a player with real experience. And so that means he has that top level experience, which he can translate as a coach. But obviously, Thomas Frank is a really hard act to follow at Brentford. And not only that, you're going to lose Bryan Mbeumo, your best forward. You're probably going to lose Christian Norgard in midfield. So straight away, you've got a kind of a rebuilding job, as well as kind of getting the fans on side and getting the players on side. So it is a tough start for Keith Andrews, but he has got that, the credentials, the pedigree of being a coach at a good setup. So Brentford wouldn't have appointed him if they didn't think he could do it, because Brentford, to be fair, they're a club that study all the data. They know what's out there. They know who the contenders are, and they know what Keith Andrews does. So he deserves his chance. But yeah, it's a massive task because, Thomas Frank is such a hard act to follow.
I think it'll be a good appointment. Sorry to interrupt. I think it'll be a good appointment. It is a gamble, but equally, if Brentford had got another manager from Italy who'd not been in this country before, that's a gamble as well. It wouldn't surprise me, although Brentford appointed him, and it wasn't Thomas Frank's appointment. It would not surprise me if Thomas Frank has really given this appointment his blessing and told the club, look, I think it'll be in safe hands. I really do. Everything so far Brentford have got right. They know what they're doing. So I have full, real faith that they've got the right man there.
Just picking up on what you've said there, Charlie, there is that tendency, isn't there, for Premier League clubs to go for the foreign coach, but British and Irish managers tend not to get that opportunity at the highest level. Should we actually be applauding this appointment for that reason?
There'll be a lot of managers, as you said, British managers, Irish managers who've done their coaching badges in this country and who've been playing in the English pyramid, who will be absolutely delighted with this. Because when you look at the appointments made, certainly during the last season, by Southampton, by Leicester, they were all gambles, and they didn't work. Any of them. Keith Andrews, he's 44. He's a year older than Arteta. So he's not really young. He's been at Sheffield United under Chris Wilder, and obviously with the Republic of Ireland team as well, and obviously had a real positive contribution last season. Let's not forget Brentford, were the only team to have 3 players who got into double figures. So he's played a part in that. Was clearly a bit more than a set piece coach. As I said earlier, Brentford know what they're doing. I understand why some Brentford fans are worried. But I don't think they should get too stressed about this one.
OK, Charlie, let's get to your paper and the back page of the Sun, and it focuses on the UEFA Under-21 Championship final. England up against Germany on the eve of that final. The Midas touch. We'll come to the fact that Thomas Tuchel is flying out to Slovakia for this game, but I just want to focus on one of the sub-headlines. Mark, I'll come to you first on this. Lee Carsley so grateful for Thomas Tuchel's support. Now, look, he was managing the senior team. He said he was going to go back to the under-21s. He's got them to the final. What does it say about the qualities that Lee Carsley has got that he's managed to do that?
Well, look, first of all, he's got good players, and it needs good players to have a team that gets to the final. So you have to give him credit for the squad first of all. But obviously, we saw during his brief time in charge of England that he did well with the team. He had a couple of up and down performances, but he left there on a high, I think. And he's a very understated coach, and I don't think he likes the glare of the spotlight. I think he's much happier in the under-21 position. I think when Thomas Tuchel came in, he was the most relieved man at the FA that they had somebody who could take the pressure off him. But it is important that the under-21 coach has a relationship with the senior coach, because obviously the pathway to the first team is the young players that are coming through. So that he has Thomas Tuchel flying out to the final at the weekend to watch these young players, the people like Harvey Elliott who've had such a great tournament, is good. It shows a sense that there's a relationship between the two most important teams in the men's game, in the FA certainly. So I think it shows that Carsley is a very good coach, a very kind of humble coach. He's no ego about him, but he's happy where he is, away from the glare of being the top man in the big job.
Charlie, Mark says that word, pathway. So which players in this squad have a realistic chance of getting to Thomas Tuchel's World Cup squad for next year?
Realistically, not that many. Maybe Harvey Elliott. I think Thomas Tuchel, he's been in America for the Club World Cup, and he was at the game yesterday. And I think, in fact, he admitted before the tournament that he really wanted Liam Delap to be in the under-21s, and that would have been interesting to see him play up front for England tomorrow night. Of course, he's been playing for Chelsea at the Club World Cup. But Thomas Tuchel, he's going to be at the game. He's going to be sat near the German national senior coach, Julian Nagelsmann, who's interrupting his holiday in Mallorca. So they're going to be sat near each other. I think there was one Slovakian journalist asked Thomas Tuchel which team he wanted to win tomorrow. Of course, he said it'd be England. And it just feels written in the stars that this time next year, England are going to end up playing Germany, aren't they? At some stage in the World Cup, whether it's group stages, knockout stages. I don't think either team are going to get to the final, but it just seems, just written in the stars that Tuchel's going to end up playing Germany, on a few occasions.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Charlie, Mark, thanks for now. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at more of the sports stories in the morning's papers, including this in the Telegraph. F1 world champion Max Verstappen in talks with Mercedes. You're watching Back Pages tonight, and it's a welcome back to ESPN's senior writer Mark Ogden and the Sun's football editor Charlie Wyatt. Let's go to The Guardian now, and they feature an article there on Sarina Wiegman and her future, and the headline is "Carry on, Sarina." FA says Wiegman can stay whatever happens at the Euros. Charlie, it's a big FA backing for Sarina Wiegman here. Is it the right approach on the eve of a tournament like this?
Well, look, we've been here before. I mean, for a start, she's got a contract for another 2 years. So in many respects, I guess you can imagine that Mark Bullingham, the FA chief executive, would say that if it was an utter disaster. And it's going to be very difficult for England, isn't it? They're in a really tough group. There's no guarantee that they're going to get to knockout stages. Maybe they'll look at it again, but I'm sure they definitely want her to stay for the next 2 years. But I think the approach is the right one in terms of Thomas Tuchel, that his contract is still the World Cup. We're going to see how we go, and then they'll make the decision. I don't like these long contracts. It should just be each tournament at a time. It makes perfect sense to do that. I'm not quite sure why they decided to give her such a long contract. I guess it's because she's done so well and they wanted to tie her down. But yeah, it looks as though she's on safe ground, even though, I think it could be a tough few weeks for her.
Yeah, Mark, Charlie says a tough few weeks, and he references the group that England find themselves in. And if you couple that alongside the players that have retired in the lead up to this tournament, it's been quite a tumultuous few weeks, hasn't it, for the Lionesses? With all of that in mind, what do you think would qualify as a successful tournament for them?
Well, all of that you mentioned is another reason why it's probably a little bit naive to say now that she will still be in charge after the tournament, because, did the Mary Earp situation, the Millie Bright situation, did that point to kind of unrest in the camp that hasn't been resolved by the two going, as Sarina got full control of the camp? And also that, like you say, France and the Netherlands in the group, it's basically three into two places with respect to Wales. I think Wales will struggle to get out of that group. But, you can't say at this stage she'll definitely be in charge. But I know what's happened. Obviously, Mark Bunningham's been asked the question, will she be in charge? And he has to give an answer. And if he says no, I'll have to wait and see, we'll still be talking about this right now, because it would be a situation where they should have given her his backing. So it's difficult, but results dictate everything. We know that Gareth Southgate went into a couple of tournaments with uncertainty of his future, with backing from the FA. Last summer, he was backed by the FA to stay, but he left. And I think sometimes the FA are terrified of change. They don't like change, and obviously they like stability. But it's going to be a tough tournament because England haven't played well since obviously the World Cup final a couple of years ago when they lost to Spain. It's been a difficult 2 years, so they need to get out of the group. And if they don't, I think Mark Bullingham might be revisiting that comment about Sarina staying.
Do you agree with that, Charlie? Do you think that if it's a group stage exit, then Sarina Wiegman could be under threat after all?
It'd be the manner of the defeats, wouldn't it? I mean, if they lose to Wales as well. Look, I think that really depends. But I think the FA know quite how difficult these next few weeks are going to be. And no one's expecting England are definitely going to, go all the way. They've got the belief there. That's important, of course. But as Mark said, with a few of those high-profile departures before the tournament, potentially maybe it's not as settled camp as you'd hope.
Yeah, just a few days now until Wimbledon gets underway. The tournament gets underway on Monday, of course, and a lot of the papers have gone with what looks like nightmare draws for the British players, Charlie. Emma Raducanu, potentially, if she gets past her first round opponent, who's a Welsh wildcard, of course, and could be the 2023 winner in round two, the number one seed in round three, provided she gets through it all. Jack Draper as well. To win it, he's going to have to get past the likes of Sinner, Djokovic and Alcaraz in the final, potentially. It's not looking easy, is it, for them?
No, it's tough, but it's interesting. I mean, let's start with Raducanu. What a brilliant story. She's going to be facing Mimi Zhu, who 17, who remembers watching Raducanu, 4 years ago, win the US Open. She was just 13 at the time, and she has sort of described Raducanu today as inspirational. And that's going to be we can't look beyond this first round for Raducanu, because, she's obviously been struggling anyway. She's going to play a teenager with nothing to lose, who's had a couple of really good wins on grass, beating top 100 players in the last weeks. And she's been having to do her biology A-levels in the middle of all of that as well. She's sort of in the top 300 now. So that is a really, really difficult match. I'm sure it'll be on centre court or court one. So only then can we really think about Raducanu's progression beyond that, because I think that could be a very, very close and really uncomfortable match for her. And on to Draper. It's tough. He's fourth in the world. He's got to potentially play Marin Cilic in the second round. He's got to get past Sebastian Baez in the first, and he's, I think, 38, something like that in the world. So that's quite a nasty first round match. Potentially third round, Alexander Bublik, who he lost at the French Open. Bublik's won on Halle recently, so he's in really, really good form. So while potentially it's Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinal, I don't think anyone can really think that Draper at the moment can be looking at the match. And of course, everyone's assuming that Djokovic is going to be in the quarterfinals. I mean, he's been in every final since 2017, but we're at this stage of his career that he potentially could suffer a slip up. So it's going to be really interesting. I also love the fact that, going back to the women, we've got 3 British players aged 17 and under for the first time, I think. Lots to talk about. I think it's going to be a brilliant tournament, and obviously the weather is going to be very, very difficult for the players as well.
Yeah, lots of coverage of Wimbledon in the papers, and lots of coverage, Mark, on the F1. The Austrian Grand Prix is this weekend, but you probably wouldn't have thought it, because it's completely being overshadowed just now with a real huge plot line with regard to Max Verstappen and Mercedes potentially. Toto Wolff has said, yes, not denying it, talks are underway between Verstappen and Mercedes. What do you make of it? Can you see this happening?
Well, Verstappen and Red Bull haven't been a happy camp for maybe 18 months to a year, so it's not the biggest surprise that he might want out of Red Bull, but to go to Mercedes is, it's huge. It's like leaving Liverpool for Man City or something of that ilk, because it's the biggest contender. And you got the situation with George Russell as well at Mercedes, who obviously fancies himself as being the next world champion. So the two of them in the same team is unlikely to happen. But are they really rivals in the sense that we're getting this picture now, this massive rivalry building up? Is it a real rivalry? Is it a confected rivalry? Is it one for us guys and the media to spin up? But obviously it seems that having the same 2 egos in the same team would be very difficult. But Mercedes don't seem to mind that. They seem to think that obviously Verstappen's the best driver. George Russell's got a situation with his contract, so maybe it's a ploy to put a bit of pressure on him. But either way, it's a great story, and it's a bigger story than the race at the weekend. Yeah, Charlie, it is a great story, and it's also given added spice because these two have had a bit of a feud of late, haven't they?
Yeah, they don't like each other. It's pretty obvious that they don't like each other. They're not hiding that, are they? It's a great side story, really interesting. Russell, it does seem that they're quite happy with Russell, and his season so far. The car's not been brilliant, but as Mark said, Verstappen's been having problems, with Red Bull for a while. Mercedes wanted Verstappen last year, it didn't happen. That could potentially be bad news for Russell if he comes over, and he might be looking for another drive as well. But equally, he's going to have plenty of options. So it's one to keep an eye on. But those two in the same team, which I don't think is impossible next year, would be a brilliant spectacle. Both watching the races, but also what was going on behind the scenes. Another spectacle is the Lions Tour, Charlie. In 20 seconds, just tell us how big this is, because Andy Farrell is saying there is nothing bigger than a Lions Tour. And there's a big talk for tomorrow's one. They've been warned that they could be bashed up. Real test, first of all. When players like that say it, and coaches and everyone, it's the biggest thing in rugby. It'd be fascinating. Charlie, Mark, thank you so much for your time on Back Pages tonight. And if you missed any of the show, there's another chance to see Back Pages tonight at 1:30 p.m.
And the show's also available as a podcast. Just download Back Pages on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.